I'm Michele Monserratt-Ramos, and I'm the Kathy Olson Patient Safety Advocate with Consumer Watchdog. I work with families across the state of California who have lost family members or who themselves have suffered lifelong harm due to medical negligence. And that is how I met Xavier De Leon about a year and a half ago. I'd like to introduce you to Xavier De Leon. He is an advocate father from Bakersfield, California, and he lost his fiancée Demi and his son Malakhi due to medical negligence. Two doctors ignored Demi's clear signs of preeclampsia, which left Xavier's fiancée Demi to die of a seizure at home. It also left Xavier's son Malakhi facing a postmortem C-section. Malakhi suffered medical negligence independently as he fought for 18 hours to live. Xavier held Demi as she took her last breath, and 18 hours later, he held his son Malakhi as he took his last breath. They both died in Xavier's arms. Xavier has overcome so much in the past 2 years, has become one of our top advocates. And I'd like to welcome Xavier. Hi, Xavier.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do. I really can't say thank you enough because you're a big part of this whole journey as well. So I just want to thank you again. And it's always a pleasure working with you.
It's been my honor to work with you, Xavier, and your family. You, in these 2 years, you've continued to go to school, you've worked, but whenever there has been a legislative meeting, a medical board meeting, some action, you're always there. You're always there. You're ready to speak. You're ready to advocate, for your family. And, we couldn't thank you enough. You have done so much for, to fight for your family, but while doing so, you've impacted Californians across the state, and it's really been an honor to work with you.
Thank you. I appreciate
So,
it.
speaking of that, your story is very unique because you lost your fiance and you lost your son. How did you get through your initial grief to become an advocate dad?
Um, I think a big part of it was my faith. I know I mentioned earlier that me and Tracy really threw ourselves into church. We made it a real habit of going to church at least once a week. Bible studies, we went to prayer rooms. And now that I'm thinking about it, I actually enrolled into Barber College. That I think it was 2 months after everything had happened. So that really helped me out a lot looking back at it, because I was like zombie brain. I don't really remember too much of what I did besides going to school, going to church. Like I said, the Bible studies, I spent a lot of time with family. But I think most of all was just my faith. And I'm very grateful that I'm very grateful that this tragedy didn't push me away from God. It actually brought me closer. So I think that's really the only thing that keeps me going till this day. But that's what really was one of the anchors that helped me continue to push forward day by day, and really just taking it day by day and step by step, and just kind of realizing and trying to, I still have trouble with it, but just kind of trying to learn to have a new normal. And it's not easy, but I think the faith, to answer your question in short, I guess, is the number one thing that helped me, and just spending time with family and talking about it. Growing up, when somebody passed in my family, we talked about it for that week, and then it kind of here and there kind of talk about, but this is kind of one of the first instances where I talked about it more than more than anything else, I guess, in my life going on. So I think that was a big part of it as well. But overall, I'd say my faith is something that helped me a lot. And family, of course, having a great support system is really important.
See,
So that's what helped me a lot.
I relate to you a lot because I lost my fiance also due to medical negligence. So I relate to you a lot. And I know what you're saying, in terms of that first year, because for me, I was in shock.
Mhm.
I was in shock. I think the second year, things start to become more real, and you start feeling it a little bit more. But, I like to think sometimes that, you know, God put me into that state of shock, kind of as a protection for me,
Exactly.
you know.
Mhm.
But one thing I can say that, and you were kind of going there, is what helped me was advocacy.
Mhm.
That, at least for me, that helped me significantly because, like your experience with Demi and Malakhi, in time you realize that it was avoidable, it was preventable, it shouldn't have happened. And,
Right.
you know, I learned that as well in my case, and so at least for me, advocacy helped me significantly.
Mhm.
And it's been it's been really um, it's been really nice to see you, you know, kind of spread those advocacy wings along with your family. And speaking of advocacy, can you share some of the actions that you've taken to advocate for others, educate others about medical negligence and our regulatory boards like the medical board?
Yeah, of course. So I believe it all really started with the campaign that we had started. And as it spread throughout the Central Valley, I actually was given the opportunity to start sharing my story on the media. And then from there, I joined in to testify with to the legislature during the Sunset Review about the Medical Board of California. From there, because of the campaign that we had started, it actually got the attention of um, our state senator and our assemblyman, um, and they'd actually, and I'm really grateful for them because they uh, joined in and were there questioning the medical board um, about our case, and I'm truly grateful for them because they really stepped up and stood up for injured families in California. So from there, that's when I testified at the special meeting for the medical board to push the support of the sunset bill as long as they supported the public member majority. So it kind of all just one thing led to another, really. And that, and I'm grateful for it because, like you said, advocacy is one of the things I guess that really helped me the most alongside my faith is being able to fight not only for my family, but to look at the bigger picture and see how many other families are being helped or how many other families are coming kind of out of the woodworks and saying, hey, that kind of happened to us. And it just opened up my eyes to see how much this goes on because prior I didn't know anything about this. I wasn't affected by it or anything like that. So um, it's really like an honor just to be a part of something like this and just taking that one step at a time, like I said earlier, and just kind of one thing led to another. And I think it's just an honor just to, I never would have thought I would be an advocate or have that title associated with myself. So the fact that we're here now and I'm here talking to you and it's pretty crazy looking back at it. I would have never thought it would have unfolded like this in a
Yeah.
million years.
Xavier, when you talk about people coming out of the woodwork, that's exactly what happened in Bakersfield. You
Hmm.
know, I remembered, I spoke to another family in January 2020, but then your family
Hmm.
contacted me and you and I met around that same time. And when you talk about the campaign, that we organized in Bakersfield, the Central Valley, it brought so many other people out too. And in your city, in your region, in Kern County and Bakersfield, I work with families across the state of California, but there
Right.
is nowhere else where families in the mothers and babies in the double digits have been harmed by the same physician
Mm.
as in your case. It's the only location in California. And a lot of the people have come forward has been because of your and your family's work, your willingness to step forward, your willingness to speak to the media, your willingness to, work on this campaign to educate mothers and babies in Bakersfield and Central Valley, your mom walking door to door,
Right.
reaching out to families, all these things that you and your family did brought other people forward that were willing to
Mm.
come forward and willing to share their stories and willing to raise their hands and say, same thing happened to me. And it was by the same physician.
Mm.
So, you have done so much. And I know I tell you this, when, we have our meetings and our strategy meetings, but, it's nice to tell you this publicly that, on these step-by-step actions you talk about, you have made a big difference. You've made a big difference in your town and, in your region of California.
Thank you. And on that note, it's not even I know it sounds kind of out there, but it's not even me that's doing all this. I give all my credit to God and my faith, because if I tried doing this, especially when we started at 23 years old, I would have screwed everything up, from the get-go. So it's really not me, and it really takes a team. And that's, and like I've told you plenty of times before, that's where you come in and you play a major role in, Tracy and my mom and all the time that you spend with us. And it just takes a lot of time and effort. And I'm really grateful for you, because I mean, you could be doing a million other things, but you're there in the trenches with us, so to speak, and helping us plan and strategize, like you said, and just spending time, like we go through the medical records and all that good stuff. And it's just really amazing to see how much you care, not only about my family, but advocates across the state. It takes a special someone to really be in a sense, a fighter and be there consistently. So I really do appreciate that.
Thank you. But that's why I'm here and that's why we're here. And I was just, I'm in the unique position because I've been through everything that you've been through.
Right.
I suffered medical negligence twice, lost two family members of medical negligence. So I know where you've been and I know where you're going. And so
Mm.
I'm in the unique position, with Consumer Watchdog, to be able to help guide you, through this rocky road of the, consumer complaints with the medical board and California Department of Public Health and all of these boards and agencies that exist that are supposed to protect consumers.
Right.
So, but you have always been willing to put in the work. When you talk about the meetings, we had our nightly meetings, and Friday night at 9 p.m. You're there. You're
Right.
there going through medical records, and that says so much about who you are as a person, and your commitment to family, and your commitment to helping others, more people than you know.
Right.
Um, Xavier, you joined the campaign to update the cap on medical negligence. How
Right.
has the medical negligence cap, otherwise known as the micro cap, impacted you?
Well, the crazy thing, Michelle, is that I didn't know anything about the cap. Um, it was actually a lawyer that told me about the cap when we were in the process of trying to find a lawyer, which was very difficult at first. They were actually the ones that told me about the cap. So, like I said, I had no idea about it. But eventually, we were able to find a lawyer. But he wasn't going to take us on a contingency, so we actually had to pay almost $30,000 out of our own pocket. And that only lasted so long because after we spent that amount of money, we kind of were tapped out and ended up having to represent our own case. Um, and that was a punch in the gut because no family should have to go through a tragedy kind of like I went to, and at the same time trying to figure out how to fight for their family's case. So it was kind of just a double whammy, and you're still in the midst of the grief, and it's not like grief goes away or anything like that, but it just felt like we couldn't rest because we were always trying to strive to do something, and have our family have a voice. So once we figured out that we were on our own, it kind of hit home more that my son Malakhi deserves to have more accountability and justice, just like any other Californian who dies by gun violence or by a car accident. And I really believe that updating the medical negligence cap will give families access to the courtroom, which is really needed because, who's to say, or, I personally don't know how many other families are out there that don't even have that opportunity or were in that financial position to even kind of get it started, because, I didn't have any expertise on how to find a lawyer at the time. I was 23 years old. I would have thought that was the last thing that was on my mind. So it always felt, and sometimes it still does, but at the very beginning it seemed like a Mount Everest, that was just impossible to climb. But like I said, it was just a kind of step-by-step process, and I'm very grateful that I took that step, and there's plenty of times where I dragged my feet, and I just wanted to be kind of a normal 23-year-old and just go to school and not have to worry about all this stuff. But at the same time, it is the best thing that I could have did, because not only am I fighting for my family, but I'm also fighting for the bigger picture, which is families across the state. And that's something that I would have never imagined me doing. But like I said, I'm very grateful that I took that step because, as the years went on, I've kind of tried to really focus more on how can I serve others, because it's not just about my family. We're kind of, I guess, maybe a statement piece in this whole puzzle, I guess you could say. But every family has value. Every human life has a value, and they all have a voice that deserves to be heard at least. So that's why I'm a fighter for the cap and trying to push everything forward, and it's just step by step, like I said.
Well, thank you for doing that because, you've done an amazing job, as
Thank you.
representing the campaign to update the cap, which we will be taking to a vote of the people next year, November 2022, in form of
Right.
a measure. Now, we know Sunday is Father's Day, and I know you have your father and your grandfather. How will you be spending your Father's Day this year? And is there something that you do special for Father?
Um, so um, this year's going to be a little different just because I'll be traveling home and I'll get home pretty late. But typically what we do is we have a barbecue at my parents' house, or at my dad's house, I should say. Um, and it's crazy how God works, because around the time that me and Demi were expecting Malakhi, my brother actually had a baby, which is my nephew. Um, so obviously Malakhi and Demi aren't here, but it's kind of cool to see my nephew, because they were around the same age. They were going to be maybe a month or two apart. So it's kind of cool just to see. In my head, I'm like, man, that's what Malakhi would look like. You know what I mean? But usually before the day even starts, I usually have my little alone time, with God, and just kind of think and try to see what he would be doing, or how he would wake me up that day, or maybe like what what it would be like to wake up with him, and I just ponder on those thoughts. But it's more just time to spend with my dad and, you know, my grandpa, and just kind of enjoy the time together and kind of reminisce, and kind of play the what if game. Like, man, he'd be running around right now. And it's I'm just very grateful that, you know, that it happened to me rather than anybody else, because it's kind of it is a bittersweet thing, because you want to enjoy, you know, Father's Day, but at the same time, in a certain sense, you know, in the back of everybody's mind, you know, they're like, oh, here comes Xavier, kind of thing, you know. So it's kind of like, I don't want to steal the show from anything or anything like that, or make it just all about me that day. But we've gotten pretty I guess adjusted to just really kind of being as normal as we can, and just really kind of reminiscing on you know, the few moments that we did have together. And really kind of at first it was hard. The first year was pretty hard for me, realizing that I was a father too, you know. The first year, I kind of, the half of the day, I kind of hid from everybody, because I didn't know how to act, in a sense. I didn't know if I should be expecting a happy Father's Day or what. And I didn't want to feel like I was entitled to anything. So I kind of hid, you know. But as that day went on last year, my, you know, my dad and everybody, my uncles and stuff, kind of were really supportive of it, and made me realize that at the end of the day, you know what, I am a father, whether my son Malakhi here is here or not. So very just grateful for the support that I had. And we just, you know, I mean, in short, we just kind of spend time together, and just really try to enjoy the day the best that we can.
I know as Latinos, family is very important to us. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful that you have, you know, that support, you know, through your family and extended family, you know,
Mm-hmm.
along with Tracy and her family as well.
Right.
And I know last year, and I know I'll probably send you a text on Sunday too this year. Remember last year when I sent you a text, I wasn't quite sure, you know, and
Right.
so I think I
Mm-hmm.
sent you a thinking of you today text, you know, instead of a happy Father's Day text, because I wasn't
Right.
quite sure, you know, but I'm sure I'll send you a text again on Sunday, telling them I'm thinking of you, but I will officially tell you Happy Father's Day
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for everything you've done, you know, on, because you've done so much in Bakersfield and Kern County, but you've done so much to educate others about medical negligence and um, maternal health and the legislative process and the regulatory boards throughout California. So thank you, Xavier.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's like I said, you know, it's really an honor to be um, chosen, really, at the end of the day, to be a part of something bigger. You know, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I never would have thought in a million years I'd be a part of something like this. And I remember one of the first times I talked to you, I was at school and I was outside talking to you, and I never would have thought ever that I'd be involved in medical board meetings or anything like that. I thought it was just, oh, okay, I'll tell my story, kind of thing. And then just to see how it evolved is really awesome. And just um, it's just amazing, you know. And I can't wait to see how far, or what else is to come, I should say. You know, I feel like we've accomplished as a team um, so much in so little time. So I know the sky's the limit with us, because we have a really solid team, you know, not just with us, but across the state. So it's really exciting to see what happens next. And I know we'll always be together in the trenches, and having those late night meetings and doing whatever it takes. So it's really exciting, and I'm very grateful. And I couldn't ask for a better team.
Thank you, Xavier. You guys are an amazing team.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye bye.